Hi, Year 5, it's Mrs. Gibbons. We're on to chapter 12 of Whale Boy by Nicola Davies. Michael got to the hospital late and found Gran's bed empty. The sheets had just been stripped off and lay in a laundry bag at the foot of the bed. He sat down on the mattress, feeling his knees give way and his head swim. There could only be one reason why Gran was not in her bed. On an evening he had been delayed, she had died. A nurse he'd never seen before, small and skinny, the exact opposite of the familiar Sister Taylor, came up to him with a big smile. "Didn't they tell you at reception?" she said, still beaming. Michael wondered how anyone could be so heartless as to smile at such a time. The nurse looked at him carefully. "She's okay," she said. "She's been moved to a private room. I'll show you." Michael didn't ask any questions. He was still reeling from the shock of having believed, if only for a moment, that his Gran was dead. She was propped up on a whole mound of fluffy white pillows in a room with a TV and a big window looking out over the town. She opened her eyes when he came in and raised the thumb of her right hand. That little bent thumb was so hopeful, so obviously trying to cheer him up, that it wrung his heart. Her forefinger roved around a little, pointing to the room. Michael understood at once. "Look at this, Michael," the finger was saying. It looks like your old Gran looked out at last." "Michael," she breathed, "Michael." He was so glad that she had said his name, not Davis or Samuel or Ivor. "So good to see you," she said. Her voice wasn't much more than a whisper, but her eyes were bright and full of life. "How you doing, Gran?" he asked. She smiled and opened her eyes wide in the old Gran way. "Oh, I'm on the mend," she said. "Be out of here any day now." "You take it steady, Gran," Michael chided her gently. "I don't want Davis paying any more bills than he has to." Michael's heart dropped with disappointment. She was still confused after all. But Gran nodded her head. Davis is paying for this room. He called the hospital today." Then she let go of Michael's hand and went limp as a rag, as if the effort had worn her out. In seconds she was fast asleep, snoring her usual purring snore. It was almost time for work at the Flying Fish. Wearily, Michael got up and walked down the corridor. Michael! It was Sister Taylor, just leaving at the end of her shift. "Great news about your uncle, isn't it?" "My uncle?" "Didn't your grandmother tell you? Davis Fontaine called today and made a bank transfer to pay for all her treatment and a private room." She saw the look on Michael's face. "It must be a great weight off your shoulders," she said kindly. "Did he say where he was calling from?" Michael asked. No, he didn't. I'm sorry." "He left Liberty before I was born," Michael explained. "If he calls again, could you ask him to contact me at the restaurant where I work, the Flying Fish?" "Yes, I know it. I'll tell him." Sister Taylor put her hand on Michael's arm. "Are you okay?" she asked. Michael nodded and stumbled away, not sure what he felt most, relief that the bills would be paid, or disappointment that it was the uncle he had never met, not his father, who had suddenly appeared out of the blue. The moment Michael stepped through the door of the Flying Fish, Eugenia burst into the kitchen with a huge tray of dirty plates. "Oh, I am glad to see you," she said. "Melody's off sick, and I've never seen the place so full." Michael took the tray. Just what I need," he said. An evening of being too busy to think." "Don't tell me you ever think, Michael Fontaine," Eugenia grinned, "'cause I know that can't be true." She waltzed out of the kitchen, and in spite of everything that was racing around his brain, Michael found he was smiling. People were earning good money on NME's construction sites, and they all seemed to be in the Flying Fish that night to spend it. Michael and Eugenia didn't get a moment's peace. They cleared tables and took orders and washed up until almost midnight. Finally things calmed down a bit, and as Michael was collecting dirty glasses from the bar, he overheard Mr. Joseph's conversation with his two most regular customers, Roosevelt Dringo and Miss Eliza Harmony. "What I want to know," Mr. Joseph was saying, "is who this JJ is. Could be some criminal for all we know." Oh, don't be so suspicious, Errol, Miss Harmony scolded. Maybe JJ is a movie star who wants to keep his identity secret. You taken a look at how fast that Marine Exhibition Centre is going up? Mr. Dringo whistled through his teeth. Marine Exhibition Centre for what? That's what I want to know, Mr. Joseph said as he poured their drinks. Why doesn't that Spargo, or his boss, whoever that is, tell anybody? Because it makes a better splash in the news if it's a surprise. Miss Harmony rolled her eyes as if it was obvious. Don't you know about marketing, Errol? Mr. Joseph wasn't convinced. Maybe, he said, and maybe he doesn't want anyone knowing what it's going to be until it's too late for anyone to object. Oh, don't be such misery, said Miss Harmony, waving her red-nailed fingers around and flicking her hair. Well, said Mr. Dringo, it is kind of weird. Doesn't look like a regular building at all. More like a big old... He struggled for the right word, but Mr. Joseph was ready with one of his own. Tank! Like a great big tank! And what would you keep in a tank that big? I don't know, Miss Harmony giggled nervously. A whale? Michael suddenly felt cold, and Spargo's gravelly voice growled in his memory. All our plans depend on you. Find those whales. Mr. Joseph pulled something from a drawer under the bar. Take a look at this, he said. A friend of mine got it for me. His son works on the new fish market site. It's the packaging they're getting ready to use. He slid the plastic wallet with its printed label across towards his friends. Well, I can't read a word of it, Mr. Dringo said, sipping his beer. Of course you can't, Roosevelt, Miss Harmony laughed and pushed the packet back across the counter. It's Japanese. Now, Errol, what's suspicious about that? Everyone knows they eat a lot of seafood over there. I'll tell you what's suspicious, said Mr. Joseph, getting cross. They have 2 million of these packages. I mean, how many fish do they think are in the sea around Liberty? Well, I'm glad, she said, getting quite heated herself, because my 2 sisters have got jobs at the fish plant starting right after Carnival, and 2 million packages is work for a long time. OK, what about this then? They're keeping the packages in a safe. A safe for fish packs? I mean, what do they want to keep so secret? Inside Michael's head, things began to make a picture. He couldn't see yet what it showed, but he knew it made him feel uneasy. While Mr. Joseph argued with Miss Harmony, he slipped the plastic package with its Japanese writing onto his tray with the dirty glasses. Back in the kitchen, the chefs had gone home. Eugenia was getting ready to leave. Wait a second, Michael called. Are you kidding? She snapped back at him. If I stand here a moment longer, I'm going to fall over. She was almost out of the door and showed no sign of staying. Michael hesitated. Don't rely on another soul, then you don't owe nobody a thing, Gran's voice said inside his head. But he couldn't get to the bottom of his suspicions about Spargo alone. He swallowed his pride. Please, Eugenia, he said quietly, I need your help. He saw her think of some clever put-down to fire off at him, but she didn't say it. Instead, she came back into the kitchen and perched on one of the stools. Okay, she said warily. What? He pulled the fish plant packaging out of his pocket and gave it to her. I need to find out what this writing says. Michael watched as she examined the package. He could almost hear her brain clicking away. It's Japanese, she told him. Yeah, he said, and your mum works for a Japanese guy now, so can you help? Eugenia frowned. If you tell me why you need to know, I'll help. She smiled the sassiest of her sassy smiles. Okay, Michael said slowly. I'll walk you home and tell you on the way, but I don't want to hear that I'm stupid for not working things out on my own. Eugenia nodded. She looked almost sorry, Michael thought, but he was probably mistaken. Michael had been reluctant to admit his suspicions, even to himself, but hearing the talk about the tank in the exhibition centre and the mysterious packages in the safe had made them impossible to ignore. All that, plus Spargo's odd desire for secrecy and his strange, threatening manner, all added up in Michael's mind like a line of figures. Telling Eugenia about it lasted all the way down the Old Town Road to the other side of Cat's Paw. They stopped under the one street light at the end of Eugenia's street. So you think there's something bad about that big tank they're building at the new exhibition centre? Eugenia asked. I don't know, Michael said, shaking his head, but it's like a whole lot of jigsaw pieces that are starting to make a picture. There's something about that guy, just makes me suspicious. Eugenia shrugged. But he's crazy anyway, she said, because there just aren't any whales around the island anymore. That's what I thought, Michael told her, but it's like Spargo knows that there are whales here somewhere, like he has some kind of secret information. Oh, he could just be an old fool. Yeah, Michael said. I told myself that too, but then there's another thing you should know. He took a deep breath. I found a whale, a sperm whale. Wow, Eugenia exclaimed. So do you think there are more? Michael nodded. Sperm whales are pretty sociable. That's how the old whalers used to catch so many. So why was your whale on its own? Michael shrugged. I think his family could be around here. But he was kind of exploring. My dad said that's what young males do. He was so curious, like he wanted to find out about me. He tipped me out of the boat, so I was in the water with him. You swam with a whale? Eugenia gasped. What was it like? He frowned and thought hard. It felt like the beginning of the world, like I was the first person and he was the first whale in the first ocean. Eugenia stared at him. Well, she said at last, Michael Fontaine is a poet. Who would have guessed? Now it was Michael's turn to be speechless. Would you take me? Eugenia asked. Take me to see your whale? Well, Michael spluttered, I don't know. Mum gave me a camera for my birthday. Just a cheap throwaway one, she said. But it might help to get some pictures to prove there really are whales before Spargo does anything bad. She was right, it might help. Okay, he said. Can you be at Golden Cove by 8:30 tomorrow? I can, she replied, and I won't even have to miss school. It's half term this week. Eugenia almost danced up the street when they said goodbye. Okay, if I will leave it there for now. Take care, bye.